All right. Good morning. Let's start with Lamrim Guru Yoga, and then we're going to recite Refuge and Bodhicitta, and then live happily ever after. From the heart of the savior of the 100 deities of the Chitta on the peak of cloud resembling cloud from his cleanly white fresh curd, King of Dharma, omniscient Lawson Drapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, online throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure guru smile with delight. Supreme field of merit from the mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread your teachings. Your holy mind is the intelligence that understands the full extent of object to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you, omnipotency, hear and remember are prostrate. Pleasant drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light-scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the eight worldly concerns. Several will sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from the billion clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dhammakaya. Please let fall a rain of fun extensive Dhamma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect, pure Lawson Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. Sashi Prabhuki Joshi Vedo Lamrim Rablingshi Nidegen Badi Sangye Jindo Mideo Gindro Kunamda Shin La Cho Basho. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teaching of the victorious one, Lawson Drakpa, who had the morality of eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious one, and accomplished the yoga of the two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idang Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure father and sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows on the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. So we're going to do the 5-line mix in my prayer 3 times. Mimetsewe teche chenrezi,
Jimin kimbi wongpo jambe yang, dopo malu jamze samwe da, kanchin kimbi tsugin tsungkapa, losan chape shala sowa. Mimetsewe teche chenrezi, jimin kimbi wongpo jambe yang, dopo malu jamze samwe da, kanchin kimbi tsugin tsungkapa, losan chape shala sowa de. Mimetsewe teche chenrezi, jimin kimbi wongpo jambe yang, dopo malu jamze Kanjin kimbe tsujin tsungkapa, losan chape shala sowande. Sangi chedan tsojin chonum la, chancho pardo dame kyabsun, dagi chushi gebande dagi, drolam benshi sangi druparasho. Sangi chedan tsojin chonum la, chancho pardo dame kyabsun, Dagi chushi gebande dagi, drolam benshi sangi druparasho. Sanji Chedan Soji Chonula Chanju Bardu Dani Kyabsun Daki Chushi Gibanza Drolam Benshi Sanji Drubarasho Kangi Tuzini Zone Dawatamji Bambi Chere Tambi Chun Dunzi Kodam Tela Chancelo. Good morning, everyone. Question.
Several second code. So did you hear that clearly? Was it all clear?
Lamrim said sugar is right and sa pasan charging la lamrim. That did some much than sugar was.
So we've been looking at the Lamrim presentation, the presentation on the status of the path of enlightenment. This is what we've been doing during the Friday morning session. So often what we do, or normally what we do, is we pick up from the point that we left off in the previous session.
There dinzada zo di ta lamrim di zengin di lamrim di zengin di dandangan zo sondub kyode mixim sondub kyode ani lam tsunga ba 콩 자그여러스 콩니 끼우다 삼김에 개바직 저단 쉬고 말다 끼우 삼김에 개바직 오늘 탄에 남주 풀트 총댕이 끼우직 다 종요레스 인자 더 디기 마 아니 갈소다 nganzolai ta damshabi kalabti nganzu yangya ta dosma ani nyeshi chi chomadi amezindi namala ya kawasan shu chiksi chogres.
So this text on the steps of the path to enlightenment was composed by a Tibetan master called Tsultrim Lama Tsongkhapa. So we, in the prayer that we've just done at the beginning of the session, we recited a verse that is called Miktsema, 5-line verse, which is making supplications to Lama Tsongkhapa, who was an inconceivable being, having developed an incredible wisdom. So being able to study this and to teach that, Geshe said that on a personal level, he considered himself to be so fortunate to be able to do so.
베게다직 냠낸 마음이 갑둘이야 퇴som 롬니 치외 갑둘이야 다직 베게 추 센서도디 배 간징 종래야 추기 전부 시세직 요레스 추기 전부 시 릭스만 치비게 끼우 담발이야 삼주 니기군 땡치니 데니 퇴som기 아니 퇴받던 삼비군의 정도 제니 아니 네번입이 돈다 아니 간솔만 송샤기 지기마디 야세야 담바레스 로 피치 아니 추균 체다바지기 라마랭가 왔음줄에 때니 슈버마임바 아니 추균 전부 시기베 아니 깨우담바 따비 디치 디투그다 오늘 잔내기다 기비 양지 순대바 두 상말로야 똑친들어 대한배 아니 유형망불이야 폐니 깔레기하는 최센 아니 디톨이야 투섬시 아니 드버께 오투스체니 아니 니번이니 랑귤이야 또비용데 다 푸르츠모지 총치니 아니 디토니마 만절이야 담샤기 딘디치 이마디 야체기야 담바레스로
So then what we practice is based on study and reflection. And we study and reflect upon teachings that came from the 4 major traditions within Tibetan Buddhism. Without becoming partial towards one of those traditions, we recognize that in those 4 major traditions in Tibet, great beings have emerged, great masters that have relied upon their spiritual teachers in thought and in practice, having engaged in study and reflection until they've found certainty with respect to the teachings of the Buddha. Not only have they found certainty, but also they've followed it up with practice. So those masters do not belong only to one of those 4 major traditions within Tibetan Buddhism, but you find them across all those Buddhist traditions within Tibet. So they have acted in different point in time, different places. They've done their study and reflection, and then they worked hard on the practice, developing, becoming an accomplished masters, and they've developed incredible qualities, amazing qualities to the mind. And through that, they passed on the knowledge to us in their writings.
어디에 대해서다 다치다 괜상한저 다치 링메 슬라원디게 슈치 차침부 제대고레스 미참마다 링메 슬라디 슈치 이나야 아니 칸에 링메 슬라나야 대한라야 아니 릭스 체데마도 라마송가바나 신기 피기 다치 릭스 마치비기 아니 라마케우 담비 샤블야 또니 딘디기에 아니 퇴송 공소 난통에 백하고 차고레스 로 딘디 식통에 백하고 차고레스 어 딘디지 끼우지레샤스 더 공기 아니 센서디 주기 전부 시기 끼우 담보 되게 들려스 아니 비기 퇴송론이지 된다지 쉽도다 마서는 제사디 아니 야가르키비 쇼라야 야가키비 쇼라야 학든데 람름 됐다 보이나 아니 지 나렌다기다 펜루타 아니 조지 반데 안디샬이야 도시더라 공기 송라야 또니 아니 람름디마 송샤기 드리차기도스.
Nowadays, there is a term that is often used in relation to those 4 major traditions within Tibetan Buddhism. So developing a non-sectarian approach to our engagement with those traditions, the word that is often used is rime, which means non-partial, or the rime movement became quite known for becoming non-partial with respect to the different traditions within Tibetan Buddhism. And although many people use the term rime, in actual fact, the attitude still remains sectarian, partial. But then when you look at what Lama Tsongkhapa did, you can get the sense that it was actually embodying this non-sectarian approach in his study, reflection, meditation. And being able to do it in a way that he did it is very, very hard, very difficult. So he had a variety of teachers coming from different traditions. He studied from them, and he also combined his writings with the teachings of the great Indian masters, the Indian Pandits. Of them, we have the master Atisha, who composed the first Lamrim text, and Lama Tsongkhapa here giving us Lamrim teachings on the steps of the path to enlightenment, is basing or sourcing his instructions on the writings of Atisha. So if you have no idea what India is, if you've never heard of it before, well, we have Dr. Poonam with us from India. Hi.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Yesterday. 어디다 디르딘자 다 아니 다 Lama Tsongkhapa 아니 조비 따직 나렌다게 아니 케바티기 들려야 또치로 조 공부를 yapsela soba 아니 지 도메 쿠션라 소바 아니 조지반데 아테샬라 소바 어디 들려야 또느로 아니 지 상기 추출트만 매바디 오늘 단에 때나 파샤바지 chagores ta kanji number sanji which sulti jagar kibi ton ta tarbaras ti tele tugchin ro konda masuna kon senshu tele tug dus cheshas dus this give them di 아니 응원을 다니겠다 남주 프로도 총아직 이해받았다 만탈래야로 두gel하지 공래야 총사교 깐깐 차고라서 디디 남주 디기 짤되니 까면 나샤교디 뒤다다 임바이네다 아니 배 띵사브 통치라 먼저 직 세리바 나이 생수 임바이네야 이혼 초대 거야 까면송이 디디 가르투섬 시고레스 라운디 아니 첸데 자마임바 깨워치마세 돌아야 두섬 시고도스 디송고레스라
So the source for these teachings is based on the teachings of the Nalanda masters. Masters such as the protected Nagarjuna and his spiritual children, Asanga and Vasubandhu, the brothers. The teachings of Atisha. So based upon these teachings, Lama Tsongkhapa made his determinations with respect to the views presented in the Buddhist tradition. And in that sense, we can see that the source is the Indian tradition. And through that, Lama Tsongkhapa developed incredible wisdom. He was alive about 600 years ago. And using the hard work that he put in place, he reached a great depth. The teachings that he gave were very deep, of immense value. And scholars that read through those teachings found them incredibly inspiring. So when you look at the orientation of the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa, you see that it's not that they're oriented towards this lifetime, but the orientation is the benefit or the value of those teachings in terms of future lifetimes.
데르다 개반남주진 디디다 아니 첸데 자마임바 개와 치미 되나야 상당고도 송고라 당안수기 당가당한자와기 아니 첸데 자마도 개와 치미 된 상long 망코리아데 가르리스 로다 티와 로즈레도 상안줄이야 라카시기 아니 개와 치미 된 상당바이나다 직 초메요소라지 통고라 디 남주 치에타바리 남주는 당금해바리 the dear that sound down on the zero. Won't give them a digitally, one the transit and the mystery devanaya. Eon trotting, coming sounding, Kunzugi, and give Chimalaya to some shegoyach, shegiabala, Nansu, and give Chimig, ten sound down the chumaking ton devadi, soon norvaris, soon digvaris. The dig is so socially at Tiwaj Tangbana, and it's so sound down that this digmavach. Then the sort to grace, Kazin Digim Evans Tongwaina, and Gyoatayagi, Kogobchi Ryan Gores, and Tiwatayari, and Gyoatayari, Gyoataya Kogobji Ravana, Gyoach Town to grace. Or Dindri Chot Ton Sungus race.
Becoming such an incredible scholar, Lama Tsongkhapa emphasized the importance of future lifetimes rather than focusing on the affairs of this life. So then when we look at our attitude with respect to that, and Geshe included him in saying that, himself in saying that, why is it that we're still focused on this life rather than thinking of future lives? Why is it that we're not concerned about our future in future lifetimes? Some of us may think that focusing on future lifetime is a waste of time. It is of no purpose. So why is it that we might think that being concerned about future lifetime is of no use? Is it because we haven't been smart enough about thinking of future lifetimes? Is it that there is something that is not enough, not sufficient for us? One thing that we can look at is the inspiring teachings of the great masters of the past and see what points they've emphasized. Whether they're emphasizing the importance of the affairs of this life or future lives. Who is correct? Are we correct in our attitude in emphasizing this life and not being bothered that much with future lives? So were they correct in terms of emphasizing the importance of future lives? So this is something that we think about. Who's right, who is wrong, who is correct, and who is not correct. So if we then come to the conclusion that those incredible masters were correct in their focusing on mainly on the purpose of future lifetimes, then it means that we then need to change our attitude. So we still need to investigate that. We can bring up questions and we can find answers for all those different issues in order to then, in our mind, see which direction we need to follow, we want to follow, we need to follow. And through that, we can then change our attitude.
다 가rin gyo tang go res la di tan gyo tang di gyo tang di ta yaji tang ro chi kre do asra yaji khar tang go res la dang zu mi ji ki ba yin za mi yak bu chi che go ya di min nam ju chen che go ya di da so su gi top dang res so su ke ben res ta di chi go res ra ta mi yak bu chi se di mi chang bu mi dem ba min nam ju chen o dire o dichi ko gores ta di yongya la ya yinchi minchi ki ani maung bitol ya samlo tanggo ya chi ro tada dina digri sindelen dina digri samsung ki samlo tangba ina ani yagi royal ya kango chagores yagi la ya kango chagya ba ta ro o dindigreshas.
So what kind of change do we want to bring about? Well, we want to improve, we want to make things better, particularly because we were born as human beings. And since we were born as human beings, we have the ability to become better human beings, smarter, to do the right thing, to receive benefit from that. To do that, we become honest, truthful, wise. So, in order to do that, then we focus on the purpose of, we focus on future lifetimes. If we become complacent about this life and thinking that it's enough for me, what I have in this life, it's just enough for me just to focus on that. If we become complacent about it, we're stopping ourselves from improving.
츠똥디 때 드링님마디 기브나 기브레 삼성로치 그러 다다 칼라 야고지라나 디워레 삼성로치 삼을 디리지 코리온 거레스 디코바이나 칼라 부바칸 그 쳇도 아니 가르치고 좀나 제통이지 로 말을 가르치고 좀나 아니 비 셴그 소 초고 좀나 초통이지 랑기 칼라 부바칸 그 쳇. 어 딘디 차와이나 아니 다 마람 쇼지로 왔어. 마람 쇼차그라. 다 딘디기 메델라 아니 피타 수칸기 아니 다 가고 마치사기. 독자스 데스 차그로 왔어. 다데 마힘바 아니 치 술라이나야 아니 장부 댐바 아니 치 잠경 제댕인지 차바이나 참말로 그때니 가오치사기 율직 차그로 왔어. 데리다 tinza kewa chimi tenla song tang di pi digba megiwa sengidla ya rangshin gen zem gongich shenla ya tsewa chibala ya rangshin gen zem gongich shenla ya marwa chibala ya rangshin gen zem gongich chayon di tsambala mit rangshin ge yabu chado gores changbu chado gores shide chado gores tinza dindi gi tablam ji tone ane lamram di ta sungundu sirwa.
So if we only think about this life, we will be thinking along the lines of thinking that it's enough for me just to be happy today, to be well today. It's enough for me just to have good food today. And not thinking of what will occur to me in the future. If we think that my goal is just to be happy today, to have enough food today, could be that we start to behave in ways which are inappropriate, ill-mannered way, even to the point of getting what we want, food and such, at the expense of others, even at the expense of taking others' life in order to get what we want. So this is an ill-mannered approach, ill-mannered attitude. And if that is the attitude that we develop, obviously we're not going to be popular. Other people will not develop that sense of affection to us, or other people will not like us. We'll consider to be negative or bad people, bad person. The opposite of that is to be honest, to be truthful, to have a sense of affection and care for others. And those type of attitudes are those that win popularity, in a sense that if we become honest and truthful, affectionate with others, if we develop a sense of care to others, others will come to like us, to regard us as positive or good-hearted human beings. So in developing an attitude that is honest and truthful, affectionate and care to others, we avoid negative actions, non-virtuous actions. We avoid harming others. We see that as an ill-mannered way of behaving. So we avoid harming others. So if we develop that type of attitude, that type of approach, then not only will become a good-hearted person, but also it has a great effect on the mind, making the mind more peaceful, more happy. And this is what Lama Tsongkhapa is teaching here in his text on the steps of the path of enlightenment.
어디에 대해서 디나올라야 다 가정에만 참데 데레스로 이번엔 하른 직된들 되니 쯤만 봐요라스 직된 침이 되니는 즉 전장위 고점된 교한테 고사표데스 단 직된 침만 되니기 삼루기비 세 간다지레세 어디 된다 송고도 왔으라 통사
So niba samba dik yevet se dimarbe. Nga niba nga ditendi dun
어디
yeah. Gonda. Yeah. That's all. So let's go back to the text and pick up from the point that we left off in the previous session. So we've been looking at the part that explains the steps of the path of enlightenment, which are shared with those of small capacity. So let's look at a section that explains the measure of that attitude having a reason, which means the attitude of a small scope practitioner. So it says, let's try to make. Previously, you had an uncontrolled interest in this lifetime only, and your interest in future lives was just a vague understanding elicited by the words of others. Once the ranking has been switched so that future lives has become the main interest in this life, nothing but a byproduct, the attitude of persons of lesser capacity has developed. As this nevertheless needs to be stabilized, you should strive to train in it even after it has arisen.
Tirda, tadi Geshe shuchik chidanda danganzu kalikawo data ro ani kiwa chima sayadin tongu mewainza nganzu ngus tong tugu mewainza teni diapi chik siu shujiba ani mik petyen rojita ta shuj ta yomarwas ro te medi zambala ta kiwa chima di kele matuk kiwa chima kele matu di kiwa chimi tuandala ya samlo tanya diya 아니 가서다 직 쪼나메와 도다 아니 디 고바 메교로진 통시 데니체 디 마도다 고고스틱 통고요 말아스 어 디땅 아주 칼카슈로 지로 로종데 치야래 칼카슈 내가 직 디레샤스
So this is a really important point. It's also a difficult point because we cannot see directly future lives. It is not something that is visible to us clearly. There are no examples that we can look up to and say that this is an example that for me illustrates the existence of future lifetimes. So since it is a complicated topic, it is a difficult topic, we cannot see it directly, then we sometimes find it hard to accept the existence of future lifetimes. We think, I cannot accept the existence of future lives. And if you're cannot accept the existence of future lives, it becomes a difficult point for you, then you will obviously be disinclined to work hard in order to secure the purpose of future lifetimes. You would think that there is no purpose in doing that because I can't accept actually that that exists. So the only thing that then we will see with that approach is the affairs of this lifetime only. So this is a really complicated point, isn't it?
Tadiri ta dindi khabdula ya chi su la ya chewa do tangche kewa chima gi kewa chimi chola ya lo chok tu ya chi ta so go grasra ti chi di tsambala kewa chima di ta manthong ma yinza ani kewa chima yorsi la ma tu wa chi chago ras ta ta manthong ma gyunsen che ne yorsi la ma tu ya di takda reves na takda chag mara da bena sani gi 산이 열외스라나 산이 열어서 그러다. 아니 산이 통 열외스나 가서 다다 산이 통요 말하다. 데리고 온다 열외스나 온다 열외스. 다니 데리고 온다 계란 통고도 했으나 이혼규는 통고문도 세그러다. 이나야 만통마야 이어바지 갑걸레 가서 로래야 쇼야 지금도 왔어. 갑걸레 마숑어디 로라 마숑어 삼레 마도 메비 근세 마힘바지 야 아니 녜바지 녜토바나 until ya donanji les sixares donanji lebaina titola ya donan togbachi lebaina rangshin samlo koreachi ani cheba cheyachi teni cheba cheondige ani ta karina cheba karina cheyata tisan zambalina ya karina ko ani yobanza kanji toni cheba cheondi teni cheba chema trending ani cheba chimi nesu siu kase cheba ngama trending cheba ngami nesu siu shetunge 딘디기 미에 두고 그랬어. 아니 공기 기회 담아도 손에 떼온디 대비 롱리 망부 좋은디 안 딘디기다 안 개망부 좋은디 드는 셈나야 아니 기회치 마라트야치 용기여서리스 다 딜레바이나 되네다 아니 수수 이야기 땅야기 남주 공벌 땅야기 다 시자도 마소나 전부 쇼지 숙로고서 삼고도스
So then we need to ask ourselves questions in relation to the existence of past and future lifetimes. So we bring up questions and we use that in order to turn our mind towards the possibility of the existence of future lifetimes. Like, for example, if we cannot see a particular thing, does it necessarily mean, therefore, that it doesn't exist? Is not seeing something tantamount to it being a non-existent? Like, for example, just thinking about it, we accept that tomorrow exists, but we don't see it directly. Do we see now tomorrow? So not being able to see tomorrow, does it mean that tomorrow doesn't exist? What about tonight? We cannot see now, we cannot see tonight, but not seeing tonight, does it mean that tonight doesn't exist? So then thinking about our assumptions, so we think that in relation to future lifetimes, we think that this is something that I cannot see, and therefore, since future lifetimes cannot be seen, they do not exist. So really, it's not saying something, a valid reason for therefore concluding that they do not exist. So there are things that we cannot see and they do not exist, and things that we do not see but they still exist. So although we don't see future lifetimes, and it doesn't mean necessarily that they do not exist, still we find it very difficult to fit it in our mind, right? To kind of to get a head around the existence of future lifetimes. So on top of that, we can also then as we start to analyze that, we develop an interest in that, and we can also turn to the writings of the great masters of the past that have used scriptures and reasons in formulating different arguments that support the existence of future lifetimes. So we think about it, we learn that, we analyze that, we investigate that, and on top of that, we can also add other things, like, for example, in the world, there are cases of people that have recollections from past lifetimes. And some of them are clear recollections, very clear recollections of past lifetimes. So we can also add that into the analytical process that we go through in checking out whether past and future lifetimes exist. And this explanation of how you use reasons and scriptures in order to, scriptural citations in order to analyze the existence of past and future lifetimes was introduced or provided by the great masters of the past. So you think about it until you develop an understanding of this topic, right? So your mind is introduced, or kind of your mind gets comes to understand this topic, and that becomes the very foundation for improving your mind, for making the mind become better and better. It's a great base for improving our mind.
어디리다 디치디다 간지 푸냐 림불이야 아니 samlo tanto 바이나 푸냐 림불라 samlo tanto 바이나 미디게 로자디 체르도고 서리스 셈바 쿠양 도고 서리스로 먼저 푸냐 림불라 sam담마투디 아니 다다다게 니수 테마도 sam담마투디 데니치 아니 식친중진 바이나야 아니 셈라 마숑안도치 로 근데 걔는 인지부 모듈라는 람산 포댕이 도치 걔는 로야스 레샬라바이나 아니 람산 뇌댕이 소리치 그래도 원래 저는 뇌고야다 포고에스 기어 말아서 딘디 바이나 포댕이 도치 아니 괜춘준 제바는 쇼지 비길이야 마기바 용데 어디서 가리레스 라운디 아니 로도기 로이톱 만담이 왕기 용구여마도 아직 로제 첨부 로톱 첨부 지여바나 대수 참말로 남의 땅투야지 그러 tinza ani chik lodam chenpo pujan rinpo ani chik kewa chimala sobi tolaya sauntangi midi tsi degi da demba sayadi ko kuyangpo chik tonin rotu yachi yungu yanza tsi degi da demba chi yungu riya sayadi dindi sungu yasa riyasa ro re
And by thinking about it in those terms, your mind becomes broader, more vast. And also there is a sense of quiescence, relaxation that comes up when your mind is becoming more broad. So if you don't think about the long term, if you think about long term, if you think about the long term like this, your mind becomes broad. Whereas if you don't think of the long term, if you're only concerned with what's happened to you now, what's happening to you today, sometimes it's enough for just a slight thing to make you unhappy. Someone is saying just something that is quite slight. They might make a comment about, you're not looking great today. No, you're not looking good, or that you're aging. It's enough for something like that to upset you, to make you unhappy. Such just small conditions bring about that mental unhappiness, which means that in this situation, the mind is actually not strong enough. But then if we make the mind stronger, more courageous, then such small affairs of this life will not be strong enough to destroy the happiness that we have in this life. If you think of future lifetimes, if you think about the future, then our attitude with respect to this lifetime would become more relaxed. We become so much more relaxed with respect to what pleasure or whatever pleasure or happiness we can get in this life.
아니 조디 샘그 상무당당 지규변절로 소바 인데 여바이나 아니 원에 기위 차견질이야 땅통이지기 야부땅에 열어서 뒤땅 맞도바이나 샘기 피기 남주고 만당와이나 아니 균널론조 가주여바 뒤쪽이베 아니 되샤시다 마으로 용대야 마기바 마으로 용대야 차도 마으로 용대야 렌스마 간지 자원이는 파피부 매와 교도에지 차로고라서 샘기 박배부지다 고양부지 여바이나 아니 즉 사연 통역이 비긴 당나만 담아지 바이네야 미디 기부지 돈이 대투에지 로 소 기부세도 초월어서 초월어 모두 비기 치 차긴 소레면도서 딘디진 로투그레스 송고도 디갸지 야담바 다 냠뇽전도 송샤균장 아주 이지치 초그레스
So then thinking of this life, we have that wish, may I be happy. This is what we think in relation to this life. May I be happy, may I be well. And often when we think of what it means to be happy in this life, we think that wealth and possessions will provide us the happiness that we seek in this life. Seldom do we think of the mind as being that which makes us happy in this life. We have the idea that money or possessions would be the things that will make us happy. But really, when you think about it, the main ingredient for happiness in this life is the mind, our way of thinking. Through that, we can develop happiness or well-being in this life. And of course, if you have money or possessions, of course, they can contribute, they can act as conditions for happiness or well-being in this life. But still, the most important thing is your state of mind, in that you can have all those things, such as those external conditions, such as money and wealth and so forth. But with a state of mind that is not happy, a state of mind that is controlled by anger and attachment, with unhappiness, with jealousy and competitiveness and so forth, even if you have those external conditions, it's not guaranteed that you'll have happiness and well-being in this life. If your mind is not made spacious, relaxed and spacious, the happiness and well-being that we seek will not come about. Whereas if your mind is spacious, if it is relaxed, then regardless of the external conditions, even insofar as you might not have enough food, you'd still be able to maintain a degree of mental happiness and well-being. And we can think about it in relation to our own personal experience. We can first of all say that happiness, right? When we speak about happiness, happiness is can be assessed through our own experience. So Geshe reckons that if we think about it in light of our own experience, we can develop that sense of trust that it is indeed the case that if we are seeking happiness, well-being in this life, the primary factor is the mind.
데레다 딘자다 넘버 산기비비다 직 추구 랍샤스 남도 따주고 디디데 직 장도 봐나 데니 수수 런난다 데난다 라난다 녜난다 가드이나야 직에 삼노 땅토야직 로종체 토야직 냠린체 토야직 용구여서리스 자기의 셴바 가야 매바이네야 베는 넘버 산기비 최나로야 비다 림바도 시온디 rangil sechik rangil ki rikchin segi da rikchig yores kunzugi ani nyamlen kandas shigres laundi tutrulayan roche tutrenalare pigita chik ta mi shibi ani chik pombola soba ani rugola soba o dindi so ani 소준 된라 샤친 다 디톨라야 상노단 디 칼데니 총바리 간드스는 누스 차바리 오두스 비 무연네슬이야 상노단이 아니 자좀 공부했나 톱투고레스 로
So then thinking about the Buddha Dhamma, if we can study the Buddha Dhamma, we can put it to use in whatever we do, when we go somewhere, when we travel somewhere, when we sit down, when we lay down, whatever we can do, we can still use that for our training, for training the mind, for a practice. Even if we cannot do anything else, we can even use those particular periods in time in order to engage in practice. Like, for example, when you look at the different types of practitioners which are described in the Buddhist tradition, one type of practitioner is called solitary realizer. So the description of a solitary realizer is as such a person practices in places like, for example, a charnel ground, right? So charnel grounds are different to the cemeteries that we know in this place. So a charnel ground is a place where you have corpses and bones and so forth lying out in the bare open. So this type of practitioner is said to be practicing alone in a solitary way in those places. So they look at what's lying around them, corpses, bones, and such, and they analyze and investigate that nature of being. How do we come to be that? What is the process by which you end up as a corpse and so forth? And through that, they at the end attain their own state of liberation, the state of arhatchi.
어딘지 로지레서 다딘마 지글로사이로 고사 베데 다 간지 겨 치마기 텐디 단단 간주 첸디기 상로티 베기 다 직점만 바로 낭기 에니베 에니 첸데레야 셴데야 지금거라 다 디기 삼바디 바 아니 제보 갸친으로 겨 치미기 텐디 겨 치미기 텐디 베 낭기 사운딩이 차바이나 아니 겨 총국이 다 삼바싱이 디차고레스 겨 총국으로
Anyway, going back to the text, we have been looking at the measure of the rising of an attitude of a small scope person. So it speaks about changing our attitude or orientation. It says, once the ranking has been switched so that future lives has become the main interest and this life nothing but a byproduct, the attitude of persons of lesser capacity has developed. So first of all, it speaks about the switch in that orientation. Now, currently we can have a contrived switch of our orientation, right? So we think about it, then in a contrived way, we switch our priorities from this lifetime to the next lifetime. When this switch occurs in an uncontrived way, which means that naturally your attitude is such that future lifetimes are paramount and this lifetime is incidental, this is when the attitude of a small scope being has been generated.
레 치미 땡일 주 손신 직된디 샤종 잠도 손나 개바인라 왠냐 템바 체크베스 디 아니 디 공벌 당고 그래서 그베 대 총니까 웹데 장월 차워스 야니안드 장 컴퍼탄스.
So let's read through that again. Once the ranking has been switched so that future lives have become the main interest and this life nothing but a byproduct, the attitude of persons of lesser capacity has developed. As this nevertheless needs to be stabilized, you should strive to train in it even after it has arisen. Long time no see.
Somebody's that talk to the pay out yours. Somebody song rubly, Korea Ponzo Tamjili, Yi Chirchog of Songbe, Trushi Chebakaji, Luda Lonju so Pusum Sobing Wontoni, Kowa Imbe, Tela Tenyaki or Mirik Sunyamna, Tendon Yeshala, Negabdan Taduki Tendon Yes Nile, Korea Lusoji Punzoni. 저 되니기 짱 내급수 되는 일 그데 땡들은 뭐 규발이 탈 닐레 토바 저와 임비체로스.
Let's look at a section that explains the clearing away of misconceptions about that. It begins with saying, the scriptures say that one must turn the mind away from all the advantages of cyclic existence. This has been the basis of some confusion. Some people may think it is improper to strive for a higher rebirth with an excellent body, wealth, and so forth, because those are parts of cyclic existence. So that's the first misconception. Then it says, in terms of what one should strive for, there are both temporary and ultimate goals. Even those who strive for liberation need to temporarily strive for the good things within cyclic existence, such as an excellent body and so forth, since definite goodness is ultimately attained on the basis of continuous succession of such lives.
제다 조디 만주 텐드 녀샤텔야 만주래 공고 여버텔야 내가 공고 여버직당 탈두 공고 여버직 니 차그레스 다 내가 공고 여버디 만주 류덴디 미 류덴디 로 온토 미 류덴다 조미 텐디 미 류덴디 아니 만주래야 내가 공고 여버직레스 가스나 만주 류덴 딘디지 규니 아니 타두기 미유 타와드 탐진 김비 공방세디 드고르 마도 아니 르데 셴기 땐라야 베나 톤롤라 소바 어딘지 르덴라야 드투야치 요마르와스 틴자 미 르덴디 네가 간졸라야 공고여바치그레스
So we need to strive at particular things, and as such, when we look at the things that we need to strive at, we can say that are temporary things and final things. So temporarily, what we need is a bodily support of a higher status rebirth, such as, for example, being born as a human being. This is what we temporarily need. We need that because on that basis, on a succession of such temporary basis of having a human body, we can proceed along the path that leads to states of definite goodness, such as liberation. So if we don't secure that temporary basis, if we have a basis of an animal, for example, a body of an animal, we'll not be able to proceed. And therefore, this is a temporary necessity that is required to us.
주싱다 직바레스 주싱라 만주다 장수 바루든 로발야 더 주싱디 장수 가는 로원디다 배주 쇼지여라서 갖다 가르치고 주는다 답이 정보 캐는 로도와다 다취 파조 탈레온디 다 디네코 독디소르 차로다 다 디네 취 파조 게네 다 주싱 캐고 전에 디네 다 독디 첨부 쇼차그라스 공고요 말 배주요 말았어 추 메살레자디 주진라 배주지예요 말았어 어디 난신기 추를 드르 카드레야 주진다 배주요 나신기 아니 간주피 타와드 탐지 김비 아니 공방 드르 카드레야 미 르덴디 쇼지 케chen 보레스 내가 로 미게 지 아니 르라 템비게 남주디 아니 로싱 르레다 캐버드 파워진자 미 르딩 안주 내가 공고여 봐진자 내가 된딩 예고 그랬어 로 된딩 예고 그랬어
This body is like a boat. So we strive, we seek a body as a human being as a temporary necessity because it is like a boat that can travel across the ocean, that can carry with it great things, light and heavy. So this body is like a boat, but once we reach the safe shore, the other shore across the ocean, we can leave the boat behind. We don't need then to carry the boat around with us once we reach the safe shore on the other side. Actually, this is something that needs to be left behind rather than to still carry it around. But then for the time being, we still need this great boat of a human body. It's so important to us because on the basis of a human body, we can have smart consciousness and intelligent consciousness that is able to make discernments in a way that is so much greater than other life forms like animals and such. And therefore, temporarily, we still need to seek to strive for this good working basis as a human body.
류롱주 코르푸숨 코르 비기 에는 코르디 도자이서다 푼조 중원도 강이 탐지 아는 코르 디바 마레스 비 타둘레 고바메와 딘디 마레스 로 내가 좀 마레 타둘레 공고야 딘디 차그레스 코르 디바 마인디 르라 소바 푼조 탈침바니 주쿠탄스 디 신긴 조바탄 디 코르나미 임비체르스 lu phusum chobadi sugu chagri lonjo phusum chobadi ani pi sanji shinkin jowa chagri ani khor phusum choban thar chimbadi ani pi ta ro odi chagres tinza tuzo chamalo lu da lonjo chamalo ani negab cham mares thadule gongo yabati yores.
And then Lama Tsongkhapa continues in saying that not everything that is an excellent body, wealth, and a retinue of high estate. A retinue of high estate, meaning like, for example, a retinue of disciples or students, not all of them, not all bodies, wealth, students, and so forth, not all of them are included in cyclic existence, because the combination of an excellent body and so forth is the form body of a Buddha, the Rupakaya, right? So excellent body, if we speak of excellent body, it's not necessarily a samsaric body, because it can also be an excellent body of a Buddha, a form body of Buddha. The wealth of his field, right? So resources can become the resources of a Buddha field, the richnesses of a Buddha realm. And also it says, and his retinue.
Parshin Tambu Shi Jumba Tsultrim Soba Tsongri Reta Tsongri di and Nigi Gabden Chagores Jumba Tsultrim Soba Sumgi Gabden Laya Tsongri Gogore Samden Sheriff Nigi Gabden Laya Tsongri Gogores and a Tarduki Nele Dujigi Tabdi Samden the Sheriff Res Tinilaya Tsongri Gogores Tarduki Nele Duyalaya. 아니 짐버 수tum 숨기 아니 온도 드야라야 온도 그때 르다 론주 아니 콜포숨 소가 딩기 드야라야 갑된 총주고 거레스 진짜 디시 당부시 디게 아니 론주 콜좀 바쁜 소기 온도 드바 송신스.
It is with this intention that the ornament for the Mahayana Sutra says that the first four perfections, generosity, ethics, patience, and joyous effort, accomplish the excellent body, excellent wealth, excellent retinue, and excellent undertakings of a high state. So it refers to the first four perfections. So as we said, we have generosity, ethics, patience, and joyous effort. Joyous effort actually is the support for the first three perfections of generosity, ethics, and patience. It is also a support for absorption or concentration and wisdom. To attain the end result, which is a state of definite goodness, certain goodness, we do need joyous effort. But also we need joyous effort for the sake of generosity, ethics, patience. Through that, as the text says, we accomplish the excellent body, excellent wealth, excellent retinue, and the excellent undertakings of a higher state. Many scriptures explain that they accomplish the form body.
어디다 지단기 전주 생인디 백히치모레도 왔다 전주디 주로 전주 여바나 메들이야 독지 여바나 아니 가도 간다지 쳐바나야 그 점버때 토바나 동네 치토도 왔으라 점버때 마도나 가리나 줍토 메바디 자시자레 딘자 비게 바로 뭐 죽이 난게다 직존주 세디 빼 개체모치.
The fourth perfection is the perfection of joyous effort, which is so important to us. What it means is to be able to be diligent, to make effort, to take on certain things willingly, to be willing to take them up. That's the perfection of joyous effort from within the sixth perfection.
네, 종류 걸어야 여름무치기에 아니 까메양이한테 손대 지겨래서 여름무치 더 우치비게 간주 배봐 봄치다 체가사 질로치 동급 영업 중하고 야 아니 비다지 잡식기 돈에 야미게 더 배디 전송치 아니 여름무치 우치비 더 봄치 하지 아니 야갈야 최도용레스 최용바레스 아니 야갈에 caption 다 단다이나다 the year was to dig the yunga lamudelia and Gaurumuchi Konlaya Simlam Jitansons, Malam Jitansons, and Malam Nalolaya, and Tanda Tuji Chambo Ranjong and the Kundajuris, and dig Kutelaya, and Gaurumuchi dus tam Chidig, and good dig, and a song delia, and the Jonjugulonti. 宗旨zambi宗旨ki tenro lelo manchi shi top dan den bi leson ji宗旨par chen zo sho sai ti ani sit ma kyor na song si
So doing out the chapsan.
chen宗旨zam go res
Okay.
ani kattu ne 宗旨 zam chine kyan 宗旨 top ke ba na kare na drup tu res sai chi odi ani toji chamo ranjong andi ko din ma song tin di chen song si
His Holiness the Dalai Lama also emphasized the importance of joyous effort. When China took over Tibet in 1949, there was a series of escalating situations in Tibet. In 1959, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, together with about 150,000 Tibetans, escaped Tibet and sought refuge in India as refugees. So His Holiness said that around that time he had a dream in which he was holding or hugging a statue of a self-arising Avalokiteshvara, the great compassionate one. So the statue was talking to him, citing a verse that is taken from Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, the chapter that explains joyous effort, which emphasizes the need for joyous effort. So if at all time you develop joyous effort, there's nothing that you will not be able to do with joyous effort. So culminate or perfect the power of joyous effort.
terda dingoni tagara chongyores da yaurumuchi jagasado pevni ani kole khabu shu yordas da thambo bena ta chuluchi dongo yangab chungagu kawyame da yaga nanglo yimba ya meset su kyu ani kanji ani chidan zambeling korala ya ta manche kyu yosar wasra ani pe ani tab kyu chini shu yores ani chik peba nyonshi chik yoba tia pigi ta chik labda meba ani chik ani tawada tsuma yimba na desa gomba meba tu chechine lochuda khashila ya tu shu yores ine ya kole kyunche ani gyawarambu chik tugur sheche ani zambeling la ya ani dewa nanchi zo gyaga shong kadin le teni tandi chala ya ta chik gomba thasa ani har le lawa tindi ani namba sanji wichela ya tusum lomnye chesaki lomnye khan tan zambeling la ya ta tele la mewa lomnye khan tindi tsug yores ro nanchu tola ya lomnye chesa ta tele la mewa tindi lomnye khan to zo tsug teni gyawarambu che ta ngabchu ngagu jela ya gyagala phevne ta tanda partu samlu chi tawndi gyawarambu che phevne chilo la phevne zambeling bege ani shidegi teben soroshiki Kürtük yöresi. Tutsama gyawaramchi kule kebi. Ani zonju top kibi kadren yimbadi yashi gyadam var resirwa.
So having left Tibet in 1959, His Holiness worked so hard since then, particularly the initial period. Life in Tibet was really difficult. Life in India was difficult. India at the time was way poorer than now, so it was the state of many countries around the world at that point in time. So living conditions were really poor, really difficult. And also Tibetans, having left Tibet, they had no schools, no monasteries for monks and nuns. And this initial period was really difficult. It took a few decades for things to improve. So His Holiness made some connections overseas, and also due to the great help and kindness of the Indian government, things have started to improve. So when you look at the situation of Tibetans living in India at the moment and the great monastic institutions that they've established, places for studying the Dharma, you can say that since 1959 and up until now, the development has been such that now those institutions in India offer Buddhist education programs to a degree that no other place in the world can match up this level of academic study of the Buddha Dharma. So all of that is due to the efforts of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who also became a leader on the world stage, promoting world peace, well renowned for being a leader of peace. So all of that, 100% certain, is based on joyous effort.
Teridinzada Gavarmuchi Jagal Pebi Tujikadel Deni, the long up Chuchu Nanoloya, Tenichi no show touching Europe, Ari, Australia, Zebitachi, and the Lomba Dehidleata, Nanchugi, Nanchupigi, 10 year Yabatama said, Nanchug Tony, Pendosh, that Chembu Yungura, Kanji, Semg Labsha, Yakshu di. Things subshoot it, Nanchu Tony Yungu, but the Jacha Jatamaris, Namjing Mutsugita, Lentuguras, Dinza, or Dindinza, Dusamalo, Ane Chundula Deni, Kanji Kali Jabal Deni, Mi Gerba inandra, and Chiba inandra, Kali Jabal Deni, Samba Namdak, Piggy, Demba di Shilashan, Kali Jabal Deni, Chonya Banza, Naranzo in Bainaya, Demba Shilashachi. Trambu Shilashachini, and Chibi Lega in the drag, Gersuzu Piggy, and a cabin in the drag, two Shin, Kalijan, Drovana, Karina drew 2 years a race, draw, Karina drew 2 years a race.
And for 50, 60 years, His Holiness also has been teaching in Europe and the US and Australia and other places around the world. So we have great benefit now in being able to have an access to the Dharma and also to study it so deeply and to improve our mind, our intelligence on that basis. And all of that is possible on the basis of working hard, on making effort. And we make effort, we strive at that based on the truth, such, for example, the presentation of the 4 truths, which then contributes to developing an honest approach and a sense of honesty. And we extend that to whatever we do in our work or in our personal affairs, whatever we do. If we do it honestly and with that great diligence, there's nothing that cannot be accomplished. We can accomplish all of that we seek in our work or personal effects using the power of joyous effort.
Terda, Pajin Amushi, Lulonjo, Koro Zomba, Punzo, Jingondo Drava Sonshin, Shon Mambo, Ne, Tedaki, Kuzu Drava Sombi sauce, Tachik Pashin Parut Chimbiki, Anichi, Dotenjo Mambo, Nalolaya, Ani Pashin Tambosum Lateni, Ani Sangi, Kuzu Drava Sonyore, Sira.
As Maitreya's ornament to the Mahayana Sutra says, the first 4 perfections accomplish the excellent body, excellent wealth, excellent retinue, and excellent undertaking of the highest state. Many scriptures explain that they accomplish the form body, right? So not only Maitreya's ornament to the Mahayana Sutras, but many other scriptures also say that the 4 or the first 3 perfections contribute to the excellent body, excellent wealth, excellent retinue, and excellent undertaking of the highest state. And also to they accomplish the form body.
Give chung dan tomo we lam yirin bala lo jang wa she sun dos ta dian chi ta give chung ge tomo we lam yirin bala lo jang su ta zo bare sun go sre.
This concludes the explanation of training the mind in the states of the path shared in common with persons of lesser capacity. So that brings to a closure the first part of the text that explains the steps of the path of those of the small scope.
If
you have any questions related to that, then of course you can bring them up and Geshe will try his best to answer your questions. All right, what does excellent retinue mean? Korpunsun topase di tendo kareinas.
Korpusum sobati the kor yakbu de la lagora gedu dojna gedu yakbu de la ya anin korpusum sopas.
Excellent retinue means a good retinue, for example, having good students, good disciples.
Kang labshawad tagda nye pigi pandro hani and samlo ta laglen tangin jowana korpusum sobadares. Until the lady chickshu nyangwe donda cheche pandro and chia samlo madana that the court dukshi deres court dukshi di.
So excellent retinue would be like, for example, now when you listen to a teacher, then you listen to what they say, then you go and you try to practice that, to implement that as much as you can, to pay heed to the instructions. That will make you be an excellent student. Whereas if you're at the vicinity of the teacher, kind of you're pretending as if you're being attentive or listening to what is said, and then you go away and you do nothing with that, it's probably not a good student, it's probably a bad student.
Tere da surni lordin tenye nyembun neslara. Wa dindrijle ya tan korpusum sobas lav chogresra lo subu neba. Ani tenyer yoba. Namje yoba. O dindrijle ya da ani korpusum sobas.
In the section of the Lamrim that explains the defining characteristics of the students that relies upon a spiritual teacher, it is said that the student needs to have three qualities. They need to be impartial, they need to be intelligent, and also they need to be striving for the teaching or seeking the teaching. So if a student has those three qualities, then it means that they become an excellent retinue. All right, so when Geshe was speaking about becoming a fully qualified small scope practitioner, does it mean to say that they need to be thinking of future lifetimes for most of the day? Is that your question? So maybe not just or simply thinking, but the motivation and so forth, the attitude would be mainly oriented towards future lifetimes. Dila kebu chungongi samba dila ditola sama tama ina rwa. Ngatso nima rerelia di ngatso kunlun samba tantan di so di kewa chima chola dundunya go rebe dundunya di dagaman shago rebes. Dila chuma maimba chi sajlo. Chezanga so manche o kewa chimagi chola dundunya go rebes. Yes, it is like that. Other questions? Oh yeah, so there was a verse that Geshe mentioned in the previous week. So I promised that I will find the verses. Luckily, someone else did for me, so I'm just going to put it out. Just a second. Oh, cannot pull it out now, I think. Oh, I can. So one, I believe that is listening to the teaching, have sent me the verse. I think that she said that it's found in maybe the Medicine Buddha Sadhana. Let's look at the verse. It's probably this. All right, so I'll share it with people at home. So, oh, Bhagavan, great compassionate one, please pay attention to me, since we are beginners and under the influence of drowsiness and excitement. Our concentration has not been clear. Our mantras have been incorrect. We have made additions and omissions in the ritual. We have scarcely clean and so on. I request the Arya great compassionate ones to forgive us. Please do not allow this to obscure us. My God, I need glasses, I think. So it's taken from, sorry? Yeah, so it's taken from, one was said, from the money retreat booklet from last year. So I guess I will also be in this year. So as it happens, we're going to do a money retreat starting from Sunday, in which we're going to do Avalokiteshvar's sadhana and do a lot of recitation of the mantra Mani Padme Hum. So if you have free time, you're welcome to join us. If you also would like, is there anything else that I need to say? If people want to book lunch, they can do it through the office. I don't know. I'm just putting you on the spot. Yeah. 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 So if you haven't made booking yet, if you're just a casual attendee and you think of coming to a session or two and wanted to include lunch in that, then just call the office or write the office, make a booking through the website, write to info@chinrezik.com.au. Yeah. I'm getting 10% cut off that promotion.
Victoria Chinas.
Okay, we don't have accommodation left, so just casual attendees, a day, full day or a few sessions, whatever you can, whatever you want. All right, so the schedule is on the website, but if not, then just on the calendar. So if you can't find it, then just make inquiries at the office, write an email or in person. Was there another question here? V? So Geshe said in the previous session that with pure refuge, the cultivation of compassion and bodhicitta would be made easier. So you're wondering what the measure of pure refuge is, right? Dila Nyamadundala Kirangi Ninje tan Chandrige Sem Yona Ani Kyamdo Namda Chagres. Tak Kyamdo Namda se di Namda Chala Chaken Kare Kare Guyanas, di Tunda Karenas.
Kyamdun namda di kyawi kunjo sumla ya ngone tani ichi tsam shiga na kyamdun namda res ra kyamdun namda res ta ichi tsama chiga ta ichi kya gya tamba ichi chejora da di yoba na kyamdun namda res.
Well, thinking of pure refuge, Geshe reckons that if you have pure trust in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, which means complete 100% trust in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, your refuge is pure refuge.
Sanji pigi chik le yunde song shaba, ane kyawang hashi song shaba, demba shela soba song shaba, o digi dila ya, da ngone tani ki panjuya jongurata, sanji la gyacha gyatamba ichi yobana, dagaran dachi jamba kilan, da dichik mandu na, da pesak song samsamki. Ra, soji legirasa, pena nganzu chik, 추직 때는 추드 도그리스 라바이나 야지게 담바 도이 바 익체 여바나 추드 카난 드와다 겨바 체메 바 끼기라스 로 어디 소리지.
So having that complete sense of trust in the Buddha, for example, as having that full trust in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha would also to be regarding the Buddha is the one that taught us karma, which means actions and the results, past and future lifetimes, the four truths and so forth. So complete trust in the Buddha would also mean that you're completely eager to engage the teachings of the Buddha, to act in a way that accords with the teachings of the Buddha. And if you also have that complete trust when you are behaving or doing things which do not accord with what the Buddha said, you kind of you could say even taking them literally, the teachings of the Buddha, without that complete, with that complete trust, when you're doing things which are not in line with the teachings of the Buddha, you think that alas, or oh my. So in a way that is similar to drinking a glass of water and then finding out that there was a drop of poison in that water, right? So if you have a glass of water and you discover that it contained poison, the type of regret that creeps in is immense. It is immeasurable, let's say. So in that sense, when you have that complete trust in the Buddha, 100% trust in the Buddha, and thereby also the teachings of the Buddha, then when you find that you have been acting in a way that are not in ways which are not in accordance with the teachings of the Buddha, that great sense of regret arises in the mind.
The only Yaurunji big songjora the Ji Nitsu Deni Tenshiba, Shi Nitsu Deni Tenshiba, Denji Koan Judo Chishin Niba, and Semi Tami, Japsum, Tebatens, Tebatembo, Tebapusum Soba, Tebayantaba, Jamrunam. Only it's not Dindiji Hongo does. That Dindiji Hongo Chibalaya, and Sanji Son Shabigi, and Demba Shilla Soba, and Dembanila Soba, or Lam Tabshi, Tutan Soba, Son Shagitella, Love John Chin. Lojong Chin, any Yamin Chin, drawing that the Yungudas, the mother, any Tangazuchi, Tangarosa, Yabuda Peros, Tangasa, any Chichuba, any child say, Menda Pietuso, Yaburdania, same thing big, same your teddy, cover and us, the Yarum to the number con, cousin at the Arasungudas, Demade, so any non-chug, Nimbo de Martas. And it cham trap de to sangagi sangang gumad mardas. So the love zone chinia, layati, number sangi chugita, nimbores and cousin to the king, sonjita, tiri sungora, or dinner songodas, that daran ras.
Shedambani and Kowa Jundok.
Denji
Jundok.
Uh-huh.
Unitsema.
Titonia, and Timing Ivanivana.
It's honest that Dalai Lama often recites a verse which says that it depends on the basis, the two truths. Knowing what you need to take up and what you need to cast aside, what you need to engage and what you need to leave behind in relation to the four truths. When you find certainty with valid cognition in those matters, that informs your practice. So we then study the teachings of the Buddha on the four truths, the two truths, the paths of method, the paths of wisdom. We study them, we put them into practice, and through that, all these points come about. Otherwise, if we don't take that approach, which is based on studying what the Buddha taught in relation to the two truths, four truths, method and wisdom, and then through that we put it into practice. If we don't go through the process, but we focus on doing different recitations, so we might recite mantras of different deities, we might recite different prayers, we make prostrations, we make mandala offerings. This great mental transformation will not occur. It will not occur if we do not do that based on understanding teachings of the Buddha. So His Holiness gave teaching yesterday, and they will continue today, is teaching Machaya's ornament to the Mahayana Sutra, and the group requesting these teachings are rational Mongolians. And anyway, it was His Holiness was addressing them yesterday in his teaching, and he said that you might be thinking that to be a Buddhist practitioner, to focus on your Buddhist practice, you need to do a recitation of different mantras, of different rituals involved with mantras. So we have in rituals involved with mantras, we sometimes have those ritual dances and so forth. So you might think that this is the essence of the Buddhist teachings, but really simply doing those things, those recitations, does not constitute the essence of the Buddhist teachings. The essence of the Buddhist teachings is found within the study of texts such as Maitreya's ornament for the Mahayana Sutra and such. Thank you.
No, sorry.
All right, so let's finish up with a recitation of the final Lamrim dedication. From my two collections, Master Space, I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives. May I find the best of complete graded parts of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the point of the path without discernment. My uphold Buddhist teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and pain. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and may the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by evenly spreaded paths of enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all humans and non-human beings eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never departed in any of their lives from the purest paths praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. So thank you very much. Money retreat starts on Sunday evening, so we'll still have teachings, I believe, on Sunday morning. Next Friday, we're not going to have Geshe's teaching because we're going to be concluding the money retreat. So we're not going to have the morning teachings next Friday, but I believe that Sunday, Tony is doing DB, right? I'm never on the ball with what we're doing. Yeah, all right. So we're going to have teaching on Sunday, money retreat, no general teachings next Friday, and no general teachings on Sunday, sorry, because Tony is leading DB. Thank you.